Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Crowd Share Podcast. Today is the Big 12 tournament. As I said earlier, we are doing all the conference tournaments, so yeah, we got a lot to we still got a lot to go through. I just did the ACC. We still got four more after this one, so let's not waste any time because I don't have a lot of it. Yeah, let's get into this video. So we are going with the Big 12 here. This one's a lot smaller than the other conferences because there's obviously not nearly as many teams. And so we're going with the first game here, which is Texas Tech playing West Virginia. Obviously, all these tournament games for the Power Six conferences are neutral site. Obviously, none of these teams have a home game, so they're all on the road. Well, not on the road, but they're all on a neutral site. They're not on a home floor. No one's at home in any of these games. Texas Tech though taking on West Virginia. Uh, West Virginia is right. Well, they're not smack dab on the bubble, but they're kind of close. They could probably use one more win. Feel really good about their tournament chances, and I think they will. I think they get the win. Texas Tech's in a bit of turmoil right now. Three straight losses to end the year. Their head coach just got suspended. Poor timing for all that to really happen. So I think Texas Tech in a little bit of some turmoil, a couple bad losses that's put them well outside the at large conversation. I think that really kind of just puts a damper on their just hopes and confidence. And I think West Virginia takes advantage, moves on to take on the Kansas Jayhawks in what will be a huge game for West Virginia. As for the other game, it's Bedlam. It's the Bedlam of basketball. Don't really think that's a thing, but big rivalry: Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. The Sooners are not anywhere near the tournament bubble. 15 and 16, of course, you can see for them, which crazily is the worst record. Is the worst record and the only record below 500 in the Big 12. Everybody else pretty much in the tournament conversation. Of course, now not Texas Tech after a bad end to the year. But the fact that Oklahoma is the only team not below 500 and they only have one game below 500 is very impressive and speaks volumes of just how good the Big 12 is. But Oklahoma State, big game for both of these teams. Obviously, everybody in these games is going to be giving their all because they know if they keep winning, their season keeps going. But Oklahoma State really strugglesome end to their season, losing five straight to five good teams. I mean, they lost to. It wasn't like they lost to Oklahoma or West Virginia. Oh, actually, they did lose to West Virginia, but it's not like they lost to Oklahoma or something like that. They lost to teams that are all above them, all in the tournament conversation. And I mean, every team in the Big 12 essentially is a tournament team, not named Oklahoma. Texas Tech still had a tournament profile for a while. So obviously, this is not a game Oklahoma State can lose. Oklahoma, they're not that good. The Groves brothers are really all that Oklahoma has. And I mean, they've been okay. They're fine. They're not great, but they're fine. But I'm taking Oklahoma State. Uh, I do think Oklahoma, though, they're not a bad team. So I think the Sooners will give the Cowboys all they can handle, and they'll make it a very close game. But I think Oklahoma State, coached by Mike Boynton, I believe is the name of the head coach, I think they get the win, move on to take on the Texas Longhorns in the next round. So now we got the quarterfinals already of the Big 12. I know it's a pretty small tournament because, of course, there's not really many teams at all. So we start with Iowa State and Baylor. Iowa State they actually just played Baylor and beat them, And if I remember correctly, it was at Waco, which obviously is very good if you are a fan of the Iowa State Cyclones, as you desperately kind of needed that win, and they got it. And yes, it was a win at Baylor. They won by 15, which is obviously incredibly impressive. So they get the win on the road against Baylor by 15, and now these two will face off yet again. Round two, well, I guess round three, because I think they played earlier this year. I don't remember who won. But actually, it may have been Iowa State. But Baylor, they're a good team. The thing about Baylor, they're an interesting, team because they have a roster of which you would think is really good. And, oh yeah, Iowa State did actually beat them the first time. Wow, they have a season sweep over them. That's really good. But Iowa, Baylor. You look at Baylor, and they have probably, in my opinion, I think they have the best backcourt in all of college basketball between LJ Cryer, Adam Flagler, and Keontae George. You're not going to find a better trio than those three in the backcourt. And, that's absolutely devastating to have all three of them. And then you got Flo Thamba and Jonathan Chamuchachua, who are both very good, big guys down low, and both very tough guys down low as well. Along with Jalen Bridges, who comes in and makes plays for Baylor. He's a solid player, and then you also got Dale Bonner, who's not a bad player either. Baylor's bench is their biggest problem, probably, though. They don't really have a deep bench. They don't really have a bunch of guys that they can put on the floor and get good minutes out of. They really got only about 7 or 8 guys that they'll play a game. So bench is so depth definitely is an issue for Baylor, but their starting lineup is pretty darn lethal. Now Iowa State got the better of them the first 2 times. But now, after only meeting for a second, after a few days, I think Baylor will get the better of them this time, and they get the win over Iowa State, going to the semifinal to take on the winner of West Virginia and Kansas. Now, I think Kansas is a very good team. Now, for a while, I criticized 2 things about Kansas. They had no bench. They had like 0 bench depth. Well, they had 0 depth. They did not have a bench, and they severely lacked size. Well, and they severely lacked like a big guy. I mean, they had guys who were tall. I mean, they had guys like 6'8", 6'7", but those are their guards. I mean, those are like guards and small forwards. They didn't really have, in my opinion, like a true big guy who they could throw in, get big minutes out of, and really just use. But a couple games I have watched of the Kansas Jayhawks, and they have put in a true freshman center of which they have on their team in Ernest Uda. I believe that's how his name is pronounced, but he has come in at different points at different games after they realized that they've needed some size, and they've done a good job. They also got Yesafu, who has come off the bench and made some plays for them. Also, Bobby Pettiford has been solid for him coming off the bench. As of lately, as he has made some plays and has come in to relieve the reserves. It's still an issue, I think. I mean, I think the bench is still a little lacking, but their bench unit looks much better than it did early in the season, and same goes for their size with Uda showing up and really making plays for Kansas and being good. Kansas actually has a player with size, and so Kansas, I am going to. It's always so hard to see the numbers on there, but I'm putting Kansas as the win here, and they'll move on to the semifinal. West Virginia, I mean, they'll make it tough, but I think Kansas is still better than West Virginia, and so I'm having Kansas get the win here against West Virginia. They move on. And then we have the Texas Longhorns taking on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Oklahoma State is desperate for a win here. They really need this one. And they can't afford a loss. They have like I said, kind of like earlier when I was doing the ACC and I was talking about North Carolina. They have to win, and there's no room for error here. Um, the Oklahoma win is not going to do enough for them. Oklahoma State is going to have to beat Texas, and I think Texas is just too good. That Texas team is just outstanding. I mean, they are so talented. I mean, you got freakishly athletic, you got shooters, and it's not like last year when they brought in all these different transfers and they had all these different guys all over the place, and kind of all of them more or less flopped. But because of this talent, they ended up still, having an okay record and getting the sixth seed. This year, they have actually had a pretty darn good season. Now, yeah, they ended up as an 8-loss team, but this Texas team, has played well. I mean, they got guys like Marcus Carr who did, I think, much better than he did last season. Dylan Dessou has been good. Uh, Serge Abari Rice came out of absolutely nowhere, having an outstanding year for Texas, and that's a bench player. You got other guys down low who are playing pretty well for Texas, and really the same goes for all these Texas teams that we always see for basketball. Obviously, they're known to. Obviously, everybody kind of calls them a football school, but Texas's roster is so freakishly athletic, and it's like that all the time. I mean, you look at the lineup for them though. You got Dylan Mitchell, uh, Dylan. You got Dylan Mitchell, Dylan Dessou, Timmy Allen, Tyrese Hunter, and Marcus Carr. That's a really good uh, starting five. Then coming off the bench, you got guys like Brock Cunningham, Christian Bishop, and Serge Abari Rice, who is just an absolute monster for their team and continues to just come off the bench and absolutely tear apart people and absolutely kill them and is very impressive. Now, those are their 8 guys that they consistently bring into the game. They've also had Arterio Morris come in on occasion, but those 8 guys have been outstanding for Texas, and they continue to really just carry this Texas team. Obviously, Texas finishing 12-6 in a Big 12 conference that's just absolutely unbelievable how good it's been. And that kind of a record and that tough of a conference, you gotta give Texas credit. They're a pretty darn good team. So we move on to the next one. We have TCU and Kansas State. Now, TCU is fully healthy, so that really makes them a completely different team, as evidenced by their win at home against Texas. As that wasn't long ago, it was on Wednesday. They also did get hammered. Well, not hammered, but they also did lose pretty good on the road to Oklahoma. A bit of a letdown there. Obviously, for a while they were missing Mike Miles, which kind of brought down TCU for a while, but then they got him back, and well, they're doing a little bit better now. Now they got a big game coming up against Kansas State. All these games, though, by the way, first round are in Wednesday, this round Thursday, Friday, and obviously Saturday for the championship. Uh, but this is a really good game. Kansas State has been a big surprise this year. TCU, some people thought would be pretty good because TCU, of course, brought back their entire lineup from last season, and so many people thought, well, with that lineup coming back, they got to be pretty good. And they have been. They've really been pretty good. And as for Kansas State, nobody picked this team to be any good, and they have been unreal. I mean, with guys like Keontae Johnson and Marquise Noel leading the crew, and then you got guys like Desi Sills and Naquan Tomlin coming in behind them. Kansas State has got a pretty darn good team. Also, of course, they beat Kansas during the regular season. But this is a very good Kansas State team. They've also beaten Baylor. They've also beaten just other really good teams, and it's really impressive for Kansas. This is a very good team. And yeah, I'm taking them to move on. I think they beat TCU. I think TCU is an okay team. I think they're a little overhyped though. I think TCU is not as good as some people probably think, but they're good. But I think they're a little overhyped. Kansas State, they're maybe a little overhyped as well. But Kansas State's been very good this year. I'm very impressed by how they've played. I think they'll win again. Which obviously leaves the lethal teams of this conference left, and we start with was an infamous matchup of the Big 12, and that is Baylor Kansas, the last two national champions for the NCAA tournament. Baylor and Kansas face each other again for the third time this season. All these matchups that are happening are going to be for the third time this season. But Baylor, they got the win at home, and Kansas would make a rally in the second game to win to win at their home, and now they'll face for a chance to go to the tournament championship. I think this will be a tightly contested game, but give me Kansas. I absolutely love this Kansas team. I mean, they are just so good. And I always gotta do this, but Kansas is such a good team, and they are just so so incredibly talented, and so it's very hard for me to really pick against them. Now Baylor's really good too, but I really love this Kansas team. They can shoot the basketball very well, and they're capable of taking a loss. I would not be surprised if Baylor ended up winning. Because I mean, like I said, Baylor has a lethal backcourt, which can shoot threes like no tomorrow and be just unbelievably good from the 3-point line. So I would not be surprised if Baylor ended up winning, but I give the edge to Kansas. They won the last one. Baylor can get kind of three happy and also get cold from three, but both of these teams are just so good. And it's really hard to pick between either one of them, but I'll take Kansas in a close one. And then we have the Texas Longhorns taking on the Kansas State Wildcats in the other semifinal game. And this one I'm taking Texas. And, I do think Kansas State is a good team, but Texas is just so darn good. And, I think Kansas State is going to make it tough for Texas. I don't think Kansas State is going to go down without a fight. But this Texas team just is so good. And I think just Kansas State's a little outmatched. They're a good team. They've been playing well all year, but Texas just a bit more talented. I think the talent will win out in the end. And then we go to the conference tournament here, or the championship here, with Texas taking on Kansas. Winner getting an automatic bid. Not that this really matters, because both of these teams are going to be in regardless. But in the rematch of these two, I think Kansas gets it. Kansas is just a very good team. Really, this is just the fight for the 1 seed. Really, that's all. What's what all this is just a fight for the 1 seed. And I'll give it to the Jayhawks. I think they get the last laugh. They get the 1 seed. They hold on to that 1 seed, and yeah, I mean, and they get the automatic bid, but they're going to be in anyway, so it doesn't matter. But they get the 1 seed, and that's really what's important to them. So I have Kansas taking home the Big 12. That's it for this video. We still got 4 more, but that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So until the next one, adios, everyone.